compliance and we have the due diligence necessary for, the verification of who the client is, because at this point, everybody is trying to move money, and the big ones that, about the right due diligence packages and ML, you have to be able to look at your client. So this is why, we're focusing at this point on that, even with our fund, is that step. So I think as the market changes and goes fully digital, if you look at the Federal Reserve right now, they have their own digital bank. They just launched. So now the Federal Reserve has a digital bank. So that's a police system, because they're going to want to try to control the marketplace, which is the USDT market, which you're not going to be able to do because it's the only thing holding up the economy right now, because it's backed by, not, as you said, credit, but it's backed by faith. And so a lot of these stable coins that are launching right now are backed by hard assets like gold, and they're going to be the new standard, I think, in the marketplace that's happening at this point immediately.
Yeah, I back that 100%. That's well summarized, actually. What's happening? I'm taking the other road. That's a bit too risky for me. I'm doing something very simple. One of the abilities of smart currencies, Ethereum in particular, which I was heavily involved with when it first started, is the fact that it's programmable. And I come from a software background, and I think, oh my God, what can I do with this, right? Money can be programmable. And what does programmable mean? I mean, right now it means simple little subroutines. If this, then that, right? People who heard me speak yesterday will know that I'm opening a blockchain-based stock exchange in London. And the interesting thing about this is it's not really crypto in any way, because company shares are already tokens. We've been trading company shares on stock exchanges for centuries, right? So the only difference we're doing is, instead of putting it on a traditional ledger, we're putting it on a distributed ledger. But the share certificate itself on the distributed ledger, we can make it programmable, right? So in other words, I mean, if you think about it, if two of you are out there and you're trading shares through a stock exchange, and they're crypto-based shares, what's to stop you bypassing the stock exchange and just trading between yourselves? Well, the share certificate won't let you do that. You see, this is intelligence built into the assets themselves. And this is going to make a big difference. The fact that the concept of wealth itself and money itself can be programmable we have no idea where this is going to go. As I said, right now it's just tiny little routines. But what happens when we start putting artificial intelligence in there instead of tiny little routines? Where is all this going to go? And there's no answer for that yet. Nobody's discussing this yet. It's something we're going to have to face in the future. I think that the rush from fiat currencies into digital currencies, as I mentioned earlier, in Nigeria, their economy collapsed because they did it the wrong way, they did it too soon, they did it in the wrong order, and their marketing was terrible. So we've... Good song.
Good day.
But this is going to be one of the biggest problems we're going to have to face, is who controls the software inside your wealth?
That's good. Okay, let me break the general consensus here. This question makes no sense without regard to risk. The question is, what is one's risk appetite? Okay, so the answer is, if one has plenty of risk appetite, then one can go for all sorts of things. No question about that. If you said to me, what would I be advising? The answer is, I'd say, okay, so what is your risk appetite? Now let's say hypothetically, You know what I mean? You say, well, we're not quite sure. We haven't got, perhaps at the fringe, but no more than that. And this seems to me, this is not the center, surely, of investment strategy. This cannot be. This is a very uncertain area. This remains a highly uncertain area. There are lots, it's not quite the Wild West, all right? But it's pretty near the Wild West still. So I would be pretty cautious about going, anywhere near this in any volume at all. You might put your toe in the water. You might say, let's try that. But in terms of saying, if we're seriously talking about transferring wealth from one generation to the other, I wouldn't be putting a huge proportion of my assets into this.
I think we have no choice because at this point,
Of course we've got a choice.
how do we have a choice when the whole U.S. dollar market is in trillions of dollars in debt?
Yeah.
How do we do that? Tell me.
I mean, that's a rhetorical question. All right, so it's not a real question.
No, it's...
Because you already know the answer to your own question, so you're not really asking me the question.
Well, actually, if I can just follow along on that, yeah. I mean, my background is in risk,
Yeah.
right? Bill Gates put me in charge of the Microsoft Excel design, not because I was a software developer. The team who actually wrote the software is the best software team in history. But he just wanted me to make sure that the financial functions in Excel were going to stand the test of time. So I've been involved in risk all my life. Started tiny little software company, became the biggest company in the world on market cap basis. I lived that whole adventure, but I've also lived in UK, USA, and China, and I see three different attitudes to risk. And the most risk averse is by far the UK, right? By far. So I don't think people here really understand risk and have become so risk averse. I think Bhima Falami, the former minister in charge of the regulatory process, summed it up perfectly when he said, I think we might be over-regulating the world's safest graveyard. So, one of the reasons I like family offices is I think they understand risk better than anybody else.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think there's any dissent in that way. I'm saying you have to choose your appetite for risk. I'm not saying, you should have an appetite for risk. I'm saying you've got to choose it.
You have to have protection on risk, and now that's happening in the marketplace. There's some safeguards you can take into the marketplace with insurance.
That's absolutely right. For the first time last week, I found a company setting up blockchain-based insurance.
Absolutely.
And, we already have a model. We've built a global economy based on fiat, well, originally based on coins and money. And now it's been based on fiat currency since, Nixon turned it over. And we're going through that transition again. But this time we have an armory. What a great word in here. We've got an armory of weapons that we can use that are based on blockchain technology. And by as I said, when opening a stock exchange, all I'm really doing is changing a traditional ledger to a distributed ledger.
And I think the other thing aware of, as a stock exchange you're saying, but people are trading USDT on the day trader, and they're making a lot of money because it's making more volume than the US Treasury at this point.
Correct.
So we have to follow this guideline, basically what's happening. We have to take an advantage that we're in a digital world. But our superhighway from the internet, when I was involved with Ed Sullivan and creating these type of programs for Playboy Channel or for Time Warner or whatever has changed. The whole internet face has gone circular, and now it's into the digital platform. And everybody's trying to learn what to do because there's so many blockchain companies out there that basically are trying to create some sort of stable coin But the standing alone, as he's saying, is the exchange itself or the actual promise to pay better be backed by something. That's why the USDT is so strong at this point, because it's backed by the US government and it's backed by assets, as you said. So it's what's the worst of the evil, you know what I'm saying, is are we dealing in companies that are out there that are saying, well, I did a COD and this is my company and I'm blockchain. So what? It doesn't mean anything unless it's backed by something or it has a digital bank behind it, like he says, or insurance that's in the marketplace that actually can do something in trading, day trading, making a profit for the client, or trading large volumes of product for, you know, between blockchain and USDT. You know, these type of things are being used. Example, I work with government. So right now, as an example, with the Venezuelan government, there's a big turmoil, everybody knows. So, you know, the president there is out and the new president's coming in. But the country's bankrupt. It has no money because they stole all the money. So what are they going to do? So the US government, the Treasury, all these organizations are saying, okay, we'll take your bond, but we'll give you a devalued risk on the bond because